Yo, what is up guys? Joker bringing you another video for Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt, going over my in-game progression slash tips and tricks guide. In Season 2, Dawn of the Hunt of Path of Exile 2, a new end-game system was introduced called Corruption, and this is now the progression system to unlock all 40 of your base Atlas points. I say I've completed this even though I only show 38 out of 40 because the last map I need to do is bugged. It will not drop the skill point book for me, so this is as close to the completion as I can get. It's the map that has the Essence boss in it. I've done about 3 or 4 of them. I've killed the boss and it's still just not dropping it for me, so I don't know what else to do, but I figured I've done enough to go ahead and give you guys some tips and tricks. Once you get to end game and open your atlas, you're going to see these red areas. This is the in-game progression system called Corruption. How this works is starting at T1 maps, you're going to be able to challenge the corrupted nexus as long as you're running a map that has at least 4 modifiers on it. If you try to put a map into the corrupted nexus that has less than 4 modifiers on it, it's going to go ahead and tell you you need to have a map that has at least 4 mods on it. The biggest tip that I can give you about the corrupted nexus itself is use the tier of map that you're currently on for the quest. What I mean by that is it starts at clearing a T1 map, and then every time you clear a corrupted nexus, it goes up by 1 tier. However, because the corrupted nexus is incredibly rippy and you only get 1 shot at it, if you fail the map that you put in, you lose the corrupted nexus and you have to go find another corrupted zone. You're going to want to be using essentially the easiest maps that you can run. This is a mistake I made early on, right? I wasn't taking it very seriously. I was just throwing in any map and I died. I thought I would have a second chance at it, and now I just have big chunks of corruption at the beginning of my atlas from these failed nexus clears. So make sure you're putting in maps that you can run. You're not going to want to juice the nexus either, because once again, you're going to want to make sure that it's something relatively easy for you to clear, because the benefit of the corruption actually comes from the cleansed zones that you get after completing the corrupted nexus. There's a little bit of misinformation going around telling players to go ahead and clear all of these maps and then clear the corrupted nexus. You do not want to do this. You cannot repeat maps. This does not give you a second take in these maps. Essentially, it just burns through your corrupted zones. Because these all turn into cleansed zones, each corruption is going to turn into a cleansed zone. You want to path the shortest path you can, consuming the least amount of corrupted maps as possible. Because like I was saying, the benefit is the cleansed zones. And what cleansed zones do is give you 20 to 30 packs of, let me try to find one real quick. It gives you 20 to 30 packs of cleansed monsters, as well as they have a couple of other additional modifiers. As you can see, this one has Mounting Greed, which is essentially just a free rarity buff. There's another modifier that spawns in a boss for you, and the boss just drops better loot, right? And on top of that, I think there's like one more thing. Yeah, there's a Monolith of Greed. It's essentially a tower that gives you, actually, I think this one was Monolith of Greed, right? No, this was Mountain Greed. There's a Monolith of Greed that will spawn and essentially do this same thing. It'll go ahead and it'll give you a bunch of quantity and rarity as well as extra damage. Well, I think it actually just gives you rarity. I don't believe it gives quantity because I don't think quantities Yeah, I believe it just gives you rarity, so correction there. But those are the main mechanics that come from the cleansed zones. And to benefit from these, once again, you have to make sure that you have corrupted zones around the corrupted nexus. I'm emphasizing this point because I've seen several videos stating that you should go ahead and clear all of these maps for extra loot and then run the corrupted nexus, which does nothing. Once you complete the map, you cannot run it again after you run the corrupted nexus. Actually, I can literally prove that point to you right now. You see this map right here, this Rust Bowl? We're going to go ahead and run this, and then we're going to run the corrupted nexus just to prove that it does not turn into a cleansed zone after you clear it. Real quick, I figured I'd show you what happens when you clear a corrupted nexus. So once you clear the corrupted nexus, a beyond boss is going to spawn. And the cool thing about the Beyond boss is it actually does not have scaling health for whatever reason. At a certain point, it seems to just stop gaining health. So there we go. We have the boss done, and let's go ahead and take a look at our atlas. I just entered the map after I exited the map. So let's click our map device, and as you can see, the Rust Bowl did not turn into a cleansed map. So the biggest thing to keep into consideration is the shortest path you can take to the corrupted nexus, because you want as many of these zones as possible, because these cleansed monsters are usually incredibly juicy. The boss is decently rewarding, and the monolith of greed and the obelisk of cleansing, the obelisk of cleansing and the other greed thing are actually really good modifiers to have on maps as well, because they give you a decent amount of rarity. The last thing that I want to touch on about corruption specifically is, let's say you rip a corrupted zone like I did, right? As you can see, I have a few ripped corrupted zones near the start of my atlas. How do you go about finding more corrupted zones to advance the progression and get more atlas points? The easiest way you can do this is pushing away from the center of the atlas. The further you get away from the center of the atlas, the more common the corruption becomes, until you'll find areas where you just have a bunch of corruption right next to each other, right? All of these cleansed zones were corrupted zones for me. The other thing that you can do is physically hunting it. If you zoom into the fog of war, you will be able to see corrupted towers, as well as you will be able to see the corrupted monoliths. Let's see if I can find any. Like here, as an example, this shows that there is going to be a corrupted area over here as well. And like I was mentioning, the further you push, the more common it is. This is the last area I cleared, and not even probably 10 maps away, there's another corrupted area for you. With corruption out of the way, let's go over upgrading the tiers of your map, right? The natural tier progression in your maps. How this works is incredibly easy and streamlined in 0.2. Essentially, what happens is when you kill the last rare or boss of the map, it will go ahead and 100% of the time drop a waystone. If you kill the last rare in a map, it will drop a waystone of the same tier. So if I'm running a tier 15, it'll drop a tier 15. If I'm running tier 14s, it'll drop a tier 14, and so on. Now, for the progression part of it, you are either going to have to kill bosses, or you're going to have to do the 3-to-1 recipe with the reforging bench. In case you're unaware, if you take 3 maps, or these all, okay, 2 are magic and 1's rare, so I need to turn them all rare. If you take 3 maps of the same tier and put them in the reforging bench, they will give you a map of the next tier up, right, of 1 tier higher. And this is incredibly easy with the changes that they made to Doriani. Doriani now sells you maps of 1 tier lower than the highest tier map that you have cleared, not the most recent, the highest tier. So if you ever clear a T15 map, Doriani will sell you T14 maps from that point forward. The next thing that I want to go over is towers. In 0.2, they cut down the amount of towers there are, but they made them stronger, as well as they made precursor tablets stronger as well. How the new towers work is, depending on the tier of the waystone and the amount of modifiers on that waystone, that's going to be how powerful your tower is. Let me elaborate a little bit, right? If we put a T15 map into a tower, we are going to get a 99% increase to the amount of impacted maps from our tablets. You're going to be able to see this once the towers clear, right? And this goes from 0 at T1. So if you clear a tower on a T1 map, you're going to have a 0% multiplier. And if you run a T15 map, you're going to get a 99% multiplier, essentially doubling the amount of maps that your tablets can impact. In addition to this, the amount of modifiers on your maps is important. If you run a map that only has like 1 or 2 modifiers, you're only going to be able to put 1 tablet into that tower. However, if you run a 6 modded map, it is going to allow you to put 3 tablets into that 1 tower. So we're going to go ahead and run this map real quick so we can show you the benefit you get from the 99% increased influenced maps. So I actually went ahead and cleared 2 towers real quick. One with a 6 modded map that was T1, and one that was 6 modded with T15, like I was mentioning. So this is the T15 tower that I just cleared. As you can see, increased number of influence maps by 99%, meaning that this is going to impact 25 maps in this range, which I don't even think there is 25 maps in this circle, so that means it's going to impact literally every map. In comparison, let me go down to my other tower. I didn't want it to impact the current strategy that I'm running, so I went to like right next to the starting zone. Let me try to find it real quick. Okay, found it. It's right here. As soon as I stopped the recording, I found it, right? So if we go ahead and put the map in, you can notice it's a significant difference, right? I mean, obviously 99% increased influence maps is a big deal. Now, when you're using the precursor tablets for everything besides boss, majority of the time, it's just going to impact every map in the area. Bosses, however, only roll up to like 5 or something. So you're not going to be able to fill an entire area with bosses, but you are going to be able to get significantly more, right? Up to 2, up to 2. Oh, it only rose up to 4 for bosses. So if we go ahead and grab the boss tablet, and it's identified, it's going to make me ID it, and put it in here, it goes from 2 to 3. Because it's not quite 100% multiplier, it is only a 99%, and it does round down in Path of Exile. But that's the main importance of running a higher tier maps with multiple modifiers on them. It allows you to juice the surrounding maps a significant amount more. So for the demonstration, I went ahead and I rolled 3 tablets real quick, right? They all impact 18 maps in the area, meaning that 35 maps in the range are going to contain Delirium, Expedition, and Irradiation. Now, once again, I don't even think there is 35 maps in this entire bubble, but we'll go ahead and hit influence, and as you can see, yeah, that kind of verifies that there wasn't even 35 maps in this bubble, because I don't see any maps that it didn't hit. Oh, actually, that's not true. I guess there is more than 35 maps in this bubble somehow, because there are some maps that did not get irradiated. And I do believe that is everything that I wanted to cover in terms of new things that actually changed, right? The other things about the end game are essentially the same. Apart from that, you get ritual passives from doing the audience with the king, you get the simulacrum, and you get the deli points. You kill bosses and you get the boss points. You do expedition logbooks and you get the expedition books, and you do breach downs and you get the breach points. And then for the arbiter tree up here, you do the arbiter of ash or whatever its name is, and you get those points up there. I just mainly wanted to cover the things that changed since 0.1. That's why I mainly went over the corruption system and towers. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future content. And until next time, take care.